spit on their name. Pull from the roots, turn it into a joke. Now history's burning, y'all watching the smoke. You knew the truth but still chose to spin. Played the past dirty, now we're jumping in. Your hands stained red with the lies you sold. Now the real ones rise, too strong to control. Yo, race chasing kids acting all snotty woke. Think they know the truth, but it's all a joke. Fed lies to the people like they sweet to taste, but the real samurai won't give you space. Blue hands screaming, y'all think you profound, but the blade's real sharp when it hits the ground. Keep playing with fire like it's just for show, but real flames rise and the truth gon' glow. Twist the facts, now it's heat in the tweets. Built a fake legend, your lies on repeat. History's sacred, don't tear it apart. We bringing it back, now you falling hard.
We just keep winning, right? We just keep winning. Look at this right here. It says, Assassin's Creed Shadows dev team reportedly using delay to address many of the historical and cultural concerns. Problems said to have been caused by historians being brought on much later than usual. That's right, being brought into the project later than they would have preferred. See, we know this is a lie, because they were bragging about all the historians they had all the way back when they were talking about all the great things they were doing over here in the Big Red Apology Letter. You remember that? And they were like, yes, we have all these historians and cultural experts that we've hired, and we don't do anything with them, though. We just party with them. We just hang out. They're sick breakdancers. Remember they were saying, like, oh, yes, we have all these people helping us create historical accuracy, but also we don't do that here. That's not what we do. We're purely fiction. But we also have all these people who are helping guiding us create the most authentic Japanese representation of the Sengoku era. And so you have now the reality of all that finally coming ashore, if you will, with Ubisoft. Now, I'm not going to say that this is going to mean that Yasuke is going to be deleted from the game in its entirety. I know the thumbnail may have led you to believe that, but it, on the surface, is true still. UbiYasuke, the character they created out of the real man, that guy probably going to get deleted or put into a very, very limited run DLC that you can get, I guess. But I have no confirmation on that. This is just a guess. What I am interpreting from what we're about to talk about is that UbiYasuke will be reduced away from the clown that they turned him into and most likely be more like the servant, historically accurate representation we know of him. The 3 or 4 paragraphs that exist that clarify him as a servant of Nobunaga, not some world-class legendary warrior that the Japanese are just too ashamed to talk about. Unlike William Adams, which no one's able to explain to me why they thought a white guy was more valuable than an African guy, considering the Japanese had just as much history with both of them at that time. So, again, it's one of those things, right? It's one of those things. Like, you have to ask yourself, what's the goal here? So, speaking of goals, let's check in on just what this is all about. So, this came from the Insider Gaming's interview with Tom Henderson. He's from inside of Ubisoft. And so what he's explaining here is that, no, Yasuke isn't going to be deleted. But what he has to say about this is he says, they're going to be actively addressing many of the historical and cultural concerns, which, again, we remember that they were talking about the reenactment group here with the Sekigahara Rifle Corps' symbology, using their flag in their works here, their flag that they just ripped and decided to put into the concept art of the book. I'm not sure why photo bashing is a thing in concept art, least of all that it gets printed like that. I mean, for God's sakes, have someone come in and at least paint over it, it's the worst you can do. But anyway, we'll get back to what they say, which started before the game's reveal following external playtests and were accelerated further following the game's initial reveal and mass feedback. So what he's saying is that once they put it out on the floor, they got a lot of heat coming back. And they've waited until now to deal with that heat. I wonder why. You remember that they had an investment group, the AJ Investments there, that was pressing their buttons and saying, "Hey, man, we're going to put a bunch of people together in your, investment portfolio, and we're going to have like a pitchfork and torch mob here. We're going to tell you what's up. You're going to sell this company, understand? We're going to go private with it." And there's a little bit of that going on. So maybe that chased him into this. But he goes on and he explains more about this. And he says, this includes changing some of Yasuke's story and how he's portrayed in the game, fixing architectural details, and ensuring the game is historically grounded while fitting into the Assassin's Creed universe. And so, there'll be like a strict asset approval process that's going forward that historical experts were, he kind of makes the excuse, I guess, right? The excuse that historical experts were brought onto the project much later than usual for a project of this magnitude, and that miscommunication between teams and cutting corners. Ouch! Cutting corners. Oof. Oofy soft. Wow. Anyway, you have them cutting corners when it came to the approval process of assets to meet deadlines. That was also at play going on there. So I don't think that Yasuke was one of those things that they just kind of cut corners on. I'm going to say. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that the character that they've been ramming down our throats, they've been insisting is the bestest of the best thing they've ever done ever in the game, and he's super cool, and he does all this amazing damage and violence and destruction with a hip-hop soundtrack behind him. I don't think those were mistakes. I think somebody deliberately kind of just did that. I can understand, like, faces, like, disappearing mid-cutscene being a cutting of the corners situation, but not all of these cultural inaccuracies. I have a feeling them saying that historians were brought in too late, meaning the people we were listening to were not telling us the truth, and the actual people who had the truth were not around. Again, they bragged about taking a field trip, remember? This guy, the lead producer here, claims that they were trying to create the most authentic games possible, and he assured us that they took a field trip to Japan. A field trip, guys. They had like a little permission slip and a chaperone, their little backpacks, and some trail mix, They took a field trip to Japan to learn Japanesey stuff, right? That all those, strange pointy buildings, right? And those strange uncooked fish wrap things, right? You know as well as I do that a Google search could have got them more accurate results than what they produced in that game. You know as well as I do that just asking a question on X will get you a variety of answers that then you can compare to the knowledge at hand that's been recorded through those various Google searches. You don't even need to go to the University of somewhere to find out the accuracy of this by finding a Japanese expert. You can just compare and contrast. I do this all the time. If there are 10 sources that say one thing and only one source that says one thing, I'm going to wait until there's more sources saying that one thing before I go parodying it, right? Before I go spreading it around. And that's what we're looking at here, is that this guy, they just decided, like, that was enough. We went to Tokyo, bought some stuff, got our hands caught in the gacha machines. It was a great time. It's a great time. And then we came back kind of like, hungover from the sake. And we don't know what Japan is, so we're just winging it. And that's pretty much what's going on in their offices, guys, is that, as you can see right here with how he's explaining it, that they're cutting corners. Nobody was there to oversee the asset approval process. So there's just some guy out there, or some gal out there that's just like, that looks Japanesey enough. Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. Is that the Chinese place we ordered lunch from? Yeah, whatever. We'll just put it in the game. It's fine. The horse moonwalks, that's Japanesey, right? They're like the toilets, right? In Australia, they go backwards. The horses don't touch ground in Japan. That's a thing, right? I could see that in an office, where they're just kind of like farting around, joking with each other, and then somebody takes it seriously, like, oh, yeah, I guess, yeah, haunted coffee table. That makes sense, yeah. I guess, we could put yokai in the Assassin's Creed universe, So is that what happened? Is the game like half Ghostbusters, the Ouija's Haunted Mansion? The other half, what do? You murder people and you have to go capture their ghosts? Like, well, I don't know, man. Like, this it already sounds like a more interesting game than what they created. I'm sorry, I've done it again. I'm giving Ubisoft ideas. I'm gonna cut it out and go back and read the article again. So here we go again. He's going in to explain some more stuff. So we'll get into what he has to say here. This is Tom Henderson. He's from the Ubisoft team that's on Assassin's Creed, and he's explaining some stuff. And so he says, the game is currently not at the stage it needs to be for release, and I'm told that there have been some tweaks to he's not from Ubisoft, I'm sorry. He's reporting this information. And so the game is currently not at the stage it needs to be for release, and I'm told that there have been some tweaks to some gameplay mechanics and elements that are going to take time to incorporate. While some of these issues were highlighted in recent playtests and mock reviews, okay, they're a mockery, all right. These are the end of development issues that will take a little longer, which of course is, unwriting Yasuke. Okay, unwriting UbiYasuke. So this means they're going to be piling most of what you do in the story behind Naoe now. So rather than this being a dual protagonist thing, you're going to have Yasuke show up as just the muscle. He'll be like that tag character you get in Final Fantasy games when like you're in the middle of a fight and you just tag another character in, and that'll be out. Maybe you summon him with a card. Wouldn't that be great? You just throw the card at the ground, a big poof of black. Oh, maybe not black smoke. Purple smoke. There we go. Purple haze. Perfect. It works. If the hip hop music, it'll look great. You could just ask Snoop Dogg for a collaboration and get it over with, Ubisoft. Come on. Just ask Snoop Dogg for a collaboration. You could get some icky, sticky Yasuke from him, I'm sure, You know what I'm talking about. Not that other thing. But that, again, we have to remind you guys, what we're dealing with here is, it's going to take a little bit longer, but we were assured that this is the most authentic game that they could possibly produce. And even then when they delayed it, to say, we're just going to polish some more things. Well, in reality, what more can be done here? Are you telling us that you were planning on putting out something like Star Wars Outlaws, where you're just going along and just fall through the earth? You're riding through your neat horse that doesn't touch the ground, and then poof, you're at the bottom of the map and going, headed further down? What happens? Are you just hanging out and some guardsman on horseback, kamikazes himself into the map barrier? Is that what happens? I don't know. I don't know what that means to polish it further. They insisted over and over and over again that they're doing the best that they can to be the most respectful they can be to Japanese culture, only to turn around now and, according to Mr. Henderson, tell us that there's nobody at the wheel as far as what that looks like. That's what this all connecting tissue is all about, guys. That's what you're looking at here. That's the big takeaway of all of it. Now, Raptor, this fella at JORRAPTOR, Raptor. This guy, he covers gaming news, and he also has the information kind of like condensed for us on what this delay has been sort of quasi-publicly outed as. These aren't official statements from Ubisoft, but they appear to be coming from the insiders that are talking with people that they feel comfortable rendering this information to the public through. People that won't get them fired, I guess. So the extra development time for the delay will cost Ubisoft around 20 million euros. Okay, so I think that's roughly about $26 million in US conversion there. I think that's about 26 million. That's what's going to cost. I could be wrong. I'm very bad at these conversion things. So let me know down below. It's 20 million euros. Let me know what that converts to in US dollars. The game should have more content now than first planned, which, again, like they're downwriting Yasuke's role, so I can only assume that this means that Naoe's doing more. And then as far as more content, well, in the last video, I talked to you about Taka. The video before that, rather. I talked to you about Taka. Yamauchi Taka, the character that they passed up on, originally proposed for this 10 years ago, okay? This character coming back and being a DLC kind of character that's the third protagonist to this whole thing. So that could be part of it, too, that they're adding more. And 20 million euros is enough money to get a guy in a mocap suit and have him do a bunch of tricks and flips and parkour stuff in one of those adult gymnasiums that's been spray painted lime green. You can get it done, Again, remember, they brought him back. They, at the risk of having a strike, by the way. Now, you remember that they were going to have a strike. There's a French union pushing the Ubisoft employees to strike. And they were ordered just a little bit after the announcement of this delay to return back to work. That their remote work was no longer going to be allowed, that they needed to show up in the office. So I wonder what they're working on, guys. I wonder what they were all called in to get done in a hurry. It sounds an awful lot. If they're just like, oh yeah, we need to make sure the polygons are right, and we need to make sure that this kanji is different. If it was just reskinning things, it was just making sure that there aren't walls blipping out and stuff like that, that's not really $20 million worth of get back to work, you know? 26 million, I think, as I said, $26 million worth of get back to work. That's not really even 3 months of get back to work, even, you know? That's maybe I don't know, maybe a month, you know? Again, like you're not dealing with a completely new chapter to a game. And I think that that's what's happening here. They'll hit that February thing, but we'll get back to what Joy Raptor was talking about here. So he goes on, he says, the game should have more content now than first planned, with Ubisoft adding a few high-impact secondary quests that will bring even more memorable moments. Sounds an awful lot like Taka. The delay should also remove the small frictions Ubisoft really fixes with post-launch patches. So this is what, you know, seeing the speeder fall through the ground with the early release of Star Wars Outlaws, this kind of stuff is what he's talking about. The poor sales of Star Wars Outlaws is mostly the cause for the delay. It just cracked 1 million copies. That's right, Star Wars Outlaws has only just cracked 1 million sold copies. That's Ubisoft though. They're just out of the garage, somebody's house, you know, somebody's grandma's house. That's where they're out of. Small little indie studio. Bunch of guys just working out of college, you know. They work at Subway, and then they make video games, you know, just a ragtag group of guys riding around a VW bus. The developers have been pushing for the delay for some time, but Ubisoft didn't first want to listen. The game is currently in not good enough good enough state to be released. The game will need extra time to also tweak some of the gameplay mechanics based on the feedback highlighted by playtests and the mock reviews. Ubisoft has also been actively fixing architectural details, and they are changing some of Yasuke's story and how he's portrayed in the game. Historical experts were seemingly brought in way later than normal, which caused many issues. Really hope they learn from this. No, they did all of what they did on purpose, and they're just lying to you now, man. Come on. Pre-order numbers on Assassin's Creed are, you know, rumored. We don't have this in official writing, so I wait for this stuff to have something meaty to it other than I heard from a friend of a friend that something's gone wrong. It's not that I don't trust it, it's that if anybody asks, that's what I have to tell them, is that somebody's uncle's cousin knows. You know, and that I can't do that. I've got to have something to chew on that has an actual source. Like, this is why we had to wait for Henderson to come out and admit that they're erasing Yasuke, because before, all we had were these little whispers that they're going to go through and iron out some stuff. Now, it's confirmed that they're adding content and subtracting Yasuke. Now, you know what that means. This is UbiYasuke is what I'm talking about, okay? To be clear, their representation of Yasuke is what it sounds like they're dialing down out of this. Assassin's Creed will now launch on Steam at the same time at February 14th, Valentine's Day. If you're looking to get your lover something for Valentine's Day, perhaps the gift of murder might help. It is red, you know. To get the game in front of as many people as possible, which developers internally are thrilled about, and they have been pushing for years. Apparently, February is a really hot time of the year to release games. I wouldn't know. I'm not one of those guys. I don't remember, like, anybody being out in front of, you know, GameStop in February. You know, up here, it gets like -20, -30 up here. The wind chill factor on top of that. So, like, nah, man, we're not. There's not too much we're waiting outside for, that's for sure. The pre-orders for the collector's edition of Assassin's Creed Shadows should still be valid, but the gold and ultimate editions are scrapped. Now, that's what I wanted to get to. The rest of this is blah, blah, blah. So here we go. Check it out. Here is the Ultimate Edition. Now, you'll notice right down here, the collector art book. Well, that's been scrapped. That's over with. Done and done. So my guess is that the Sekigahara Rifle Corps held their ground, and Ubisoft's legal team did not want to risk the Japanese government or any historical preservation group throwing their weight behind the reenactment group, the Sekigahara reenactment group. So that's my theory on it. There's no official writing, but that's my theory about how that has come to be. So that's gone now. Gone. The Ultimate Edition. All this has gone up in the wind. Imagine how many statues they had made that now they're just like, well, don't know what to do with that now. And then now they're going to get rid of the Gold Edition, add 2 expansions with it. Very nice. Woohoo. Cool. Gold Edition. Congratulations. Everybody gets a refund. Good for you. And so that's where we are with all of this at the moment, okay? This Assassin's Creed Shadows thing has hit the side of the mountain. This is the decisive blow. You won. I won. We all won. Everybody who raised their fist and said, no, you're not doing this to Japan. You're not doing this to any other culture. Get it right. And so at the very least, while they haven't completely scrapped the game and come out and said we were bad and awful people and we're going to take all of this money we've lost now and just go off into the shadows ourselves, we'll be, Sudokuing ourselves and stuff like that. I don't want them to do that. But at the very least, it sounds like what they're working on is that they're going to remove Yasuke being a protagonist in the game, and they're going to shovel all that onto Naue. Now, again, this grants them their DEI status of having a female assassin for, like, a lead assassin. I think that's the first one in the franchise. First female lead protagonist, sole lead. I could be wrong. I checked out on number 3, and I don't remember who Valhalla's protagonist is. I don't think it's a lady, but I could be wrong. Either way, you'll have to let me know down in the comments, but that's what we're looking at, folks. That's what we're looking at. They are removing the UbiYasuke and sounds like moving him into being the servant, assistant. I'm just here. I'm an outsider like you kind of positioning. Whereas, it also sounds like they're going to be adding Taka. Yamauchi Taka, the monk turned assassin that I talked about in a previous video. If you just want to wait a few more minutes, we'll have that down there in the recommended in just a couple of minutes here. So, in either case, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below about this. I personally think that they're going to reduce Yasuke to being a servant, move Taka in, and just hold their breath. That somehow just the unique change, like the Sonic movie shift on this, that, whoops, we made a mistake, we're going to do the best we can with what we've got left kind of attitude, helps them. I don't know if it will, but I feel like it's a step in the right direction for them to at least put Yasuke in a more historically accurate position, given he's a real person. But you'll have to let me know. I've gone on long enough about this. Until the next one, guys, good luck out there.